Good morning. I'm Joel Miller. I'm the interim minister here at the Morristown Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. So glad to welcome you all here this morning who braved that cold rain out there. So I understand if you're watching from home and on our live stream, and glad you're all here, whether on live stream or here in the building. Years ago, a member of the congregation I was serving, he came up to me after the service. He was kind of agitated. He was pretty upset. I'd had a service, and I talked about a lot of different prophets in different religion and how they were commenting on the topic. And he was upset because I'd mentioned Jesus. And I said, well, I mentioned a lot of different ones. He said, I just don't believe in Jesus anymore. And I just don't really want to hear about Jesus anymore. And you know, I wanted to be honest with him, and I wasn't sure, I didn't want to be mean, but I felt I had to be honest too, so I tried in the kindest way to say, well, you know, one of the things about the way I grew up was I often heard about what people didn't believe in, which I really struggle with. In fact, I'll be honest with you, I find it really irritating. I don't really care what people don't believe in. I care very much what people do believe in. I care very much what you believe in. What excites you about Unitarian Universalism? How do you want to make a difference in the world? What gives you joy when you wake up in the morning and you want to go and be part of the day? He scowled a little bit and walked off. He came up to me, it was months later, he came back up to me. And I was afraid I'd been mean to him, but when he came, he said, I've been thinking a lot about what you said when we talked last. I was pretty angry with you about mentioning Jesus. But then I thought, well, why am I angry about that? And then he said, I realized I was talking with my partner, and I talked with my therapist. And you know something? I really appreciate that you were open with me about that, because I realized that when I didn't believe in Jesus anymore, I was really sad, because when I'd grown up, Jesus was so important to me. And not believing in Jesus was like losing somebody I had loved, like they died. I still don't believe in Jesus, but I'm very interested in talking about what I do believe in. I found that really helpful. And I guess it's okay that I'm sad about it, and I don't have to be mad about it. I said, you want to do a small group? I bet there's some other folks who want to be in the group with you. And he's like, yeah, let's do that. And so that's what we did. One of the things I love about ministry is just the chance to be with a congregation, be with people as they encounter life and changes. And what is it that gives you joy when you wake up in the morning and you want to encounter the day, or you want to make a difference in the world, or you just want to see friends when you get together on a Sunday morning? I'm so glad you're here. Welcome this morning.
Welcome to our worship service. We're glad to be together for this hour, sharing this spiritual journey. We're grateful that all of you are here. I'm Lori Cross, this morning's worship associate, and I'm glad that you're here. This is a congregation that works to practice appreciation and acceptance. We look for ways to help each other in our spiritual growth and care for each other through our journeys, through birth, childhood, youth, adulthood, middle age, and as beloved elders. Because worship is a shared experience, our spiritual practice includes listening. Because we all listen differently, we understand if you get up to leave for a conversation or to help someone with a need. If you're someone who gets overwhelmed by sound or talking, our parlor out that way is and there's another one out that way, very quiet room where you're welcome to be quietly. If you need to talk or help someone, you can watch and listen from the library. If children, youth, and their families have questions about our religious education programming, Nick Walwork is our Director of Religious Education. You can find out more about our choir from our music director, Michael Rosen, at the piano. Our AV technical director is Alex West, and our congregational administrator, Katie Julich, is here most weekdays and is happy to get any emails you want to send. And as he said earlier, Reverend Joel is our interim minister. So I do have some announcements. First of all, we have someone here who is ready to demonstrate that we have hearing earphones. They are available if you are hearing impaired, just so that you know. You can ask an usher or you can ask Alex. Other announcements. Today, following the service, the mindfulness meditation will be meeting in room 304 at noon. We'll learn about and discuss, quote, RAIN, a practice of radical compassion, unquote. All are welcome. In gratitude for the beloved community, someone is grateful for all and wants us to make a point of announcing that the Green Earth Ministry invites everyone to visit their table in the dining room and sign the initiative. That was someone making a special effort to announce this, so I'm going to say it again. The Green Earth Ministry will again be in the dining room following the service with postcards for UU Faith Action New Jersey's campaign for the Green Amendment for the state constitution. Please stop by and sign. On Sunday, May 19th, there will be an opportunity to try out your storytelling skills. Best storytellers will participate in the June 15th Moth-Style Radio Hour. Please see our e-blast or reach out to fun@muff.org for more information. On Sunday, June 16, we will begin the summer schedule, which means the Sunday service will begin at 10 a.m. Please join me in saying our chalice lighting words. Love is the spirit of this fellowship, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Thank you, Lori. Let's sing together. I believe that's what comes next. Morning has come. I invite you to stand in body or spirit. like to share a story this morning. If the children would like to come up and help me with that, I'd be really glad to see you up here. Good morning. Hi. Hello there. Is that a unicorn? Yeah. It's got that sparkly horn right in the middle of the head. That's something that makes a unicorn, isn't it? Well, I'm glad to see you this morning. You know, there's an old story in the Bible, and this particular story I'm thinking about this morning is about a guy named Moses. And there's a lot of stories about Moses, but this one particular story, he's had to leave a place called Egypt where he'd been. And as he's wandering about in life, at one point, he goes up into the mountains because he's trying to figure out what he wants to do. And when he gets up there, he sees this burning bush. It's like the bush is on fire, but the bush isn't burning up, even though there's fire in the bush. The bush isn't like getting crispy, which is really strange. Moses is like, there's something different going on here. And then he hears a voice, Moses, take off your shoes. It's a holy place. So he's like, oh, whoa, I'm hearing a voice from the sky. That's probably I should take my shoes off. And he takes his shoes off. And then he goes up to the bush and he says, who are you? And the voice says, I am becoming who I am becoming. Now, there's a lot of argument because in the original language of Hebrew, there's this verb, to be. Some people says, I am who I am, kind of like Popeye says, if you know who Popeye is. They're laughing because there's old cartoons about Popeye. You can see them on YouTube, But what's interesting is that when I went and looked at it, it's pretty clear that it says I'm becoming who I am becoming. And what I love about that, because, okay, and the voice from the bush is supposed to be God in this story, right? Well, wait a minute, because a lot of people say that if they believe in God, people who believe in God would say, well, God is permanent and never changes. But what the story in the Bible says, God's always changing along with us. Which is pretty interesting if you happen to believe in God, to think that, wait a minute, I'm changed by God, but maybe when I change, God changes too. It's kind of an interesting thought. The reason I tell this story is because when we're here in our fellowship together, we believe all kinds of different things. But one of the things about being in community together or going to the Sunday school classes is that we find we change each other just by being together. And that is a lovely thing, to become close, to become friends. It's lovely that these people who are sitting here in the pews are so happy that you're here. And they're changed by you, and you're changed by them. So whatever you end up believing, the power of what we can share and do with one another. I always think back to that story of the holy voice saying, I'm becoming who I'm becoming. Thank you for letting me tell that story this morning. It's good to see you. Go back and be with your folks now. Our milestones and passages, as I've mentioned before, milestones, those markers along the roadway letting us know how many miles we might have traveled or that we're at an important point on the journey. Caroline Blanchard shares a milestone next month. She is beginning her master's thesis in history on the topic of Unitarian Universalists in the civil rights movement. I think that's really cool. She is interested in conducting oral history interviews. And if you've been around for a while, if you happen to know Clark Olson, for example, who was the minister here in the 70s and in the 60s, was actually marching with Dr. King from Selma to Montgomery. So you as a congregation have this rich history, not just through Reverend Olson, but through the work you've done here in Morris County. So if you were in any Unitarian Universalist congregation or this one and are willing to discuss what your experiences were in those times, please see her. Caroline, are you here in the room at the moment? There she is. She's waving her hand right there in the back. And she's wearing the green shirt. So she'd love to talk with you. Don Marks shares a gratitude that Tom McGinnis attended the gathering of men yesterday remotely. He was looking good, and I'll bet it was great for y'all to be together. From Janine and Drew, we would like to thank everyone who helped when Janine apparently had a seizure last Sunday. It's about 12:30 after the service. So many of you might have headed home after coffee hour already. They write, "It happened during a song bath session by the Garden State Threshold Choir. It was in the parlor after the service. She was checked out at the Morris County Hospital with a CAT scan, with blood work, x-rays, put on an anti-seizure medication, and released to follow up with a neurologist. We'd especially like to thank Don and Diane Marks and Barry Bontempo for jumping in with their medical expertise, Joel for dialing 911, and Judy Hahn and Mary McGowan for coming to the emergency room and sitting with us until Janine was released. Thanks to all the many members and friends who called, who texted, emailed, and reached out this week. Thank you so much for surrounding us with love." And I'm going to do this twice this morning because sometimes we just need to know from one another. Why don't you all wave here to Janine? I'll send this to her in love. And some pretty big news from Brooke and Candace Donaldson. Brooke has been hospitalized since Monday because of her complete placenta previa. It's a condition that happens, and if you know what it is, it's pretty serious. It was causing concerning bleeding for Brooke. Brooke has been pregnant, as is Candace. On Friday night, Brooke experienced a massive bleed, and things took a turn. Within 15 minutes, Brooke had an emergency C-section, not because of concerns with the baby, but because of concerns for Brooke's well-being and her blood loss. She had to be put under general anesthesia because there wasn't time to do an epidural. Her son, Bromley Roy Donaldson, was born yesterday at 9 p.m. He weighs a mere 3 pounds, 2 ounces and measures 16 and a half inches at 29 weeks and 3 days. He's currently in the neonatal intensive care unit at the Morristown Hospital. They're feeling pretty devastated. This is the outcome, but they are also grateful and happy that Bromley Roy is doing well. He's stable, and Brooke is doing pretty well and is stable also. It's a hard time for the family right now. They write, "We appreciate the support and help. Please, no visitors at this time. Cards are welcome. We look forward to when Bromley Roy can come home." And I'm going to send this during our meditation. Give a wave to Brooke Donaldson, Bromley Roy. Thank you. I guess I just want to add how much I appreciate all of you and how you care for one another. On this Mother's Day, when we celebrate all the different ways that we mother and care for one another, You are an example of the kind of mothering that makes this such a blessed community.
This morning, we can be mindful of all that brings us joy in our lives and sending caring energy to those who have struggles right now. This morning's meditation was written by the Reverend Marta Valentine. In gatherings, we are stirred like the leaves of the fall season, rustling around sacred trees, tossed hither and yon until we come to rest together. Quietly, softly, we come to gather strength from each other. We come to give strength to each other. We come to ask for strength from the Spirit of all that is and is not. When our hearts sing or when they frown, it is the way of compassion telling us to give. It is the way of peace telling us to share our gifts. For we are happiest and most powerful when love is made apparent in and through us. Spirit of the circle that is love, as we twirl in this dance that is life, we give thanks for reminding us each day of our ministering to each other with a searching glance, a safe touch, a generous smile, a thoughtful word. Thank you for reminding us that we are always building our beloved comunidad. Thank you for reminding us that through our covenant with you, we covenant with each other and are made whole. In gratitude, we celebrate with open hearts and minds. We discover who we are, separate from each other and within one another. In this circle that holds all life, may we ever work toward widening its boundaries until there are none. Amen. Paz. Blessed be.
Good morning, everybody. For the next song, Ancient Mother, which we all know, it's just the one slide and the one text. It can be sung straight through in round style, but I'd like to start it with just the mothers singing. So mothers, those who are mothers, who wish to be mothers, who have been mothers, grandmothers, and then halfway through I'll make the announcement for everyone else to join. So we'll still do it in that layered round style. And we'll just feel the spirit of it. No time limit. You know, we'll do it as many times as we would with a round where it's sort of open-ended. And Tim and I will just provide that background. I'll play it once through, although you all know it. You're welcome to stand or seated for this song, either or. Just mothers. Everyone else from the beginning.
This reading from my colleague, Reverend Richard S. Gilbert. Be gentle with one another. It is a cry from the lives of people battered by thoughtless words and brutal deeds. It comes from the lips of those who speak them and the lives of those who do them. Who of us can look inside another and know what is there of hope and hurt, or promise and pain? Who can know from what far places each has come, or to what far places each may hope to go? Our lives are like fragile eggs. They crack, and the substance escapes. Handle with care. Handle with exceedingly tender care. For there are human beings within. Human beings as vulnerable as we. Human beings who feel as we feel, who hurt as we hurt. This life is too transient, too quick to be cruel with one another. It is too short for thoughtlessness, too brief for hurting. Yet life is long enough for caring, lasting enough for sharing, precious enough for love. Be gentle with one another.
Happy Mother's Day, but as you all know, it's sometimes not a happy day, and Mother's Day can bring all sorts of emotions. And so for today's anthem, I did pick an anthem that sort of leaves it open-ended. It's a bit mysterious. This Poor Wayfaring Stranger is traditional African-American spiritual. It's appeared in so many different styles, chorally and folk songs. And as you just heard, like I said, it could be a painful day. And this does reference very much an Old Testament story, like Joel mentioned in the Time for All Ages. But I'll read it quickly through the first verse. I'm just a poor wayfaring stranger, traveling through this world of woe. I'm just a poor wayfaring stranger, traveling through this world of woe. Yet there's no sickness, toil, or danger in that bright land to which I go. I'm going there to meet my mother. She said she'd meet me when I come. I'm just a going over Jordan. I'm just going over home. It's very mysterious of the person speaking to their mother. Has the mother passed on? I'm going to see them in heaven. Has the person also passed on, that they're finally going to see them in Jordan, in heaven, in Eden? And it leaves it that way, sort of open-ended, that it's this journey of beyond to see their mother, and then later they mention the father. This song was, you probably may have, it was sort of catapulted back into the collective conscious of our society because it made a very significant appearance in the movie 1917, the World War I movie that got some Academy Awards. Yeah, it came out a few years ago. There's a soldier singing. It's a very moving moment in the movie. And with that, choir, would you mind come? We will collect our offering.
And the offering today will be split 50-50 with the minister's discretionary fund in anticipation of Reverend Sasha's arrival. You can donate via the text-to-give number 73256 with the keyword MUF and the dollar amount. Or you can select the link in the order service.
Just a poor wayfaring stranger, traveling through this world.
So with me heading out to a candidating week in Newton, Massachusetts, with my beloved, two of us are interviewing with the entire congregation as co-ministers, and we hope very much to have the same outcome that Reverend Sasha had with you, which is to be called by the congregation at the end of that week. So with this sudden change in my schedule, all of a sudden I had to make today I wanted to do that interim sermon. This is, I titled it Becoming Together, but it does have a alternative title, which is Care and Feeding of Your Minister. Just some advice and thoughts on it. But I'm also thinking just about, I want to spend a minute and a half just remembering also everything that we've done together in this interim ministry. Because it's a lot. It's an exceptional amount. And I know I've told you that probably once every 3 months for the last year and a half. But it's pretty amazing what you've done. I'm in admiration and appreciation for your hard work, for your kindnesses, for your feistiness, usually, and your generosity. In 2 years, I'm just going to, it's a partial list. I couldn't list it all. I don't have time. First, figuring out how to be a congregation in post-pandemic times. And you're doing that. And you're doing pretty well. Not a lot of congregations are. Not a lot of religious groups are. But you're doing pretty well. 2, you have a thriving children's RE program. A lot of religious groups have completely lost their religious education programs. Yours is thriving and growing back. 3, you are so generous. And I really admire your willingness to really invest in one another and your religious community. In the first year, we made that final decision. You made that final decision. I didn't make it. You did. And look what's going up right here, this edition. You began 4, implementing your long-planned governance structure. Never easy to do, a big change. 5, you managed this construction you're managing this construction project. It's awesome. I hope you all had a chance to go inside and take a peek in there in the last couple of Sundays. It just looks so awesome. I'm really curious who you're going to become together when you can sit together, have lunch or dinner in the True Fellowship Hall together. I'll be watching. I'm curious and excited. 6, you put a roof on the mansion, and even just before I got in here, you put the parking lot in. This place looks great. We launched the Pastoral Care Associates team last Sunday. We're working on the communications committee. It's coming together, a little slower than I'd like, but it's coming together. And the list could go on and on. Let me just put the cherry on top. You elected a ministerial search committee just a little over a year ago, and just 2 weeks ago you called your next settled minister, Reverend Sasha Ostrom. That's a lot of interim work. That's a lot. I know I've said that I know I've said that, but really something to be proud of. And I'm proud that I got to be a part of that with you. You are going to do great things together with Reverend Sasha. And so this advice, these thoughts, I got this advice from a wise elder minister when I started in ministry many years ago now. He said to me, Joel, great ministers and great congregations, they make one another. So these are 8 things I want to share with you. 8 things I believe a congregation has to do to help its minister to be great, so your minister can help you to continue being great. First of all, one of the things I love about ministry, and ministers who at least serve congregations probably should love, is that we have a front row seat on life. I've had Sundays that began with a worship service that was followed by a memorial service, then several hospital visits, and then a wedding. That's a lot in a day. Ministry is an amazing, privileged life. It's not a lifestyle. It's not really a career. It's a calling. A classmate actually asked me about 35 years ago as I was approaching ordination. He is also an ordained Zen Roshi priest. And so as a offering to me for my ordination, he offered me a koan. You know, koan is like that, the one that most people have heard of. What is the sound of one hand clapping? I don't know what the answer to that is, by the way, but other maybe than swish, 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 swish. He said, I have a koan for you, Joel. Grateful for his spiritual gift, because he's a really thoughtful person, a thoughtful Zen Roshi priest and Unitarian Universalist minister as well. He said, Joel, when is a minister not a minister? And I really pondered that. When wouldn't I be a minister? He smiled. Let me just help you out with that, Joel. The answer, never. And that's always true. I'm always thinking about how you're doing, who's suffering, who has found joy, who's new, who's struggling to overcome fear and anger, who's found suddenly some prophetic courage or is feeling discouraged or in denial. I'm always thinking about, how are you doing? How's the congregation doing? I might be grocery shopping. I might be on vacation, but it comes up. And it's one of the joys of that front experience, being in a front row seat of life. So what that means, the upshot is, in terms of advice, when you see your minister at the grocery store, we're still at work. And we're glad to see you at the grocery store or at the DMV office or the movie theater or the playground. But there's always a part of us that's at work. That said, number two, we're still human. We have to work to have non-congregational lives that somehow exist as teased out of ministry as we can. I mean, really, I like to go to a party and kind of cut loose. Even though I don't drink anymore, I can still cut loose. But parties are complicated because it's just natural. I'm at a party, somebody's invited me to a party, and there might be some new people there for me and for me to meet, and they'll say, so, Joel, nice to meet you. What do you do? My friend Rosemary Bray McNatt, who's now the president of Star King School for the Ministry out in Oakland, she wrote some years ago, this is the point at which the minister becomes the party buzzkill. The free-flowing, outrageous conversation that was just happening comes to a screeching halt. Complete with some apologies. Oh, I dropped the F-bomb. I'm so sorry, Reverend Joel. I didn't even ask them to call me Reverend, but... And then there's a quick review by everyone present of anything they said that might get them damned to hell. They haven't figured out I'm a Universalist, and I'm not worried about hell. Well, at least not the afterlife. The hell on earth, maybe in this moment, is a little hellish. And then that's followed by the meaningful talk. The struggle between good and evil, the ultimate meaning of life, assorted ethical dilemmas that you really wanted to avoid when you wanted to cut loose at the party. And the advice part here. This actually is not your problem. Your minister's job is to keep a healthy boundary between their personal life and ministry. Because your minister is always your minister, even while they're human. In the same way that your doctor is always your doctor. Your therapist is always your therapist. That's their job. It's their obligation. Your minister is always your minister. So, because they have this connection, this calling with you, it's important that your minister gets their day off, that they take their vacation time, and that rare and precious sabbatical. We need it. They need time to recharge and reconnect with their spirituality after that constant front row experience of life. Give us the time we need to restore ourselves. Give Reverend Sasha the time she needs to be restored. Her ice? She's an ice skater. Ice skater. Thank you. I didn't know that. She'll need ice time. Yes. Third, your relationship with your minister will be one of the most complex relationships you will ever have. Ministry is, I love ministry for this actually, because it is so complicated. We get to do so many different things in so many different ways. So at the moment, I'm both a preacher, but I'm also teaching you because it's an interim sermon, so it's a little different than the usual sermon. But I've been a fundraiser and done that from the pulpit just back on April 7th. I'm also a pastor to you. I support you through complicated spiritual journeys. I'm a volunteer coordinator, guiding you, cheering you on, sometimes offering correction. Your minister represents the holy, dedicating your children, leading memorial services for your loved ones, or weddings. Many, many roles, and so it's complicated. So what does this mean? So when you see your Reverend Sasha in the grocery store or at the DMV or on the playground, remember that you might end up talking about deep ethical dilemmas or something deeply important to you with the minister. And then you may find you'll be at the board meeting or a committee meeting and you disagree pretty deeply about something with Reverend Sasha or the minister. That's okay, because we have these complex and multi-layered roles, and it's one of the amazing things about congregational life. Stay connected. That's the piece of advice there. And as you stay connected, fourth piece of advice. Ministers are, as one waggish minister said some 75 years ago, ministers are called to comfort the afflicted and to afflict the comfortable. So, if I'm doing my job, Reverend Sasha's doing her job, the ministers that follow are doing their job, sometimes the minister is going to say something that profoundly afflicts you. Perhaps, as the story I told about my wanting to support the member of the church and saying, I really can't help you with what you don't believe in. And he was so mad at me, very afflicted by that. But you can expect your minister to give you hope and courage too. Tell Reverend Sasha when you feel the balance between the two isn't right. So here's how I kind of know if, I'm doing a little afflicting, but I'm doing some comforting, and if I find that there's a kind of a balance in the afflicting and comforting feedback, then probably I'm close to the right measure of both. If it's getting a little too heavy on the comfort or a little too heavy on the afflicting, the best way for me to find out about that is for you to let me know. Like, you're really afflicting me, Joel. It's okay to say that, or thank you for the comforting, Joel, or Reverend Sasha. And it's okay to say that it's not feeling right, but sometimes the balance is right, even if it doesn't feel right, and that's really afflicting. That's a great question. There's a whole sermon in that. Fifth, talk to us. Please talk to us. Please talk to Reverend Sasha. Don't talk around Reverend Sasha. Please talk to Reverend Sasha. You have this great right relations promise. It's on the website. You go and look at the Committee on Ministry. It's under there. I once asked on Facebook all of my thousands of colleagues, what is something I should say as an interim minister to a congregation when I'm giving them advice on the care and feeding of ministers? Uniformly, they all said, please talk to us. Don't talk around us. Talk to us. Don't gripe to a friend. Don't just go away mad. Please don't gossip or just give away anonymous griping. People are saying, they don't like Joel's sermons or whatever. No, talk to us. It's demoralizing when we know, we can feel it when folks are talking and griping, but they're not talking to us. And it's hard. It makes ministry heavier. And just those 4 points, along with the right relationship promise. When you're a third person and hearing somebody complaining, because sometimes we just need to kind of vent a little bit. It's okay to vent. When you're the person listening, hear them out, listen deeply, and then ask them. Go talk to the other person, or go talk to Reverend Joel, or talk to Reverend Sasha. If they're feeling uncomfortable, offer to go with your friend. If they don't really want to just go, say, well, can I just pass on your information, pass on the top of the hour conversation to Reverend Sasha or Reverend Joel or to the board president, whoever it might be. And if they say, no, I don't want you to share that, then our responsibility is to say, then please don't talk about it. Keep it to yourself. That's the right relations promise. And that's what my minister colleagues are uniformly asking of congregations. If you can't say it directly, please don't say it at all. 6 pieces of advice. Your minister can't do your ministry. And actually, you specifically love to do your ministry, which is really cool. You show up for your spiritual lives. You want the world to be a better place. You've said yes to many difficult tasks. I've seen you saving lives. You're showing up. You're sharing ministry. And don't forget that even as you do all of that, Reverend Sasha cannot do the ministries that you can do. Only you can do the ministries you can do. Keep showing up for your ministries. Keep saving lives. Looks like you really mean it. I sent a picture to Brooke and Candace during the prayer this morning. I know you really mean it. Shared ministry. Sometimes it seems really ambiguous. What do we mean by that? It just means treat each other with respect. Use your policies and your bylaws. Stay with them. Don't go off-roading so much unless you really have to. And then if you have to, just talk with each other about it and say, hey, I need to off-road. That's okay. There are things in shared ministry sometimes that are best done by the minister. Supervising staff, for example, overseeing worship, keeping up on best practices and helping the congregation understand what those are in the moment. Ministers specialize in that, not because we're somehow holier than anybody. It's just that that's our work, our calling. Often your minister will be encouraging you and cheerleading you, helping make sure the budget is supporting you in your ministries, and sometimes challenging you. Oh, you know, the policy says. And in this 7th piece of advice, in turn, you and only you, the people of the congregation, can articulate the mission and vision of who you are and why you're here. A minister shouldn't be doing that, in my view. We are, as Unitarian Universalists, we believe that the Holy speaks through us in our relationships, our caring for one another, our working hard together. It is the right and the privilege of the people to determine their vision and their mission. Your minister needs that. Don't ask your minister to write it or decide it for you, please. What happens when a congregation doesn't do that is that the minister then is held accountable for all kinds of conflicting things and sometimes even impossible things. And it can be pretty frustrating. And not even just ministers, but even boards of trustees and committee chairs. So keep working on that. My last piece of advice, number 8. We love and cherish those cards, those notes, little small gifts. I have a drawer in the desk upstairs in the minister's office. And I keep the little notes or print out the emails. Just sometimes messages of appreciation or memories of times we've had together. I have in my office altar a small stuffed bear who's beloved to me, a precious gift from a child who is now long grown up. I have pebbles given to me that came from special times and places. And I love the note cards. When days are hard, I go back and read the cards. And I remember how I've ministered with people and how we made a difference. You have another 75 years of great ministry ahead, at least. Another chapter anyway, right? Keep cherishing one another. Cherish and support your ministers in the way that you have and you do and have. Long ministries with Paul Ratzlaff, with Reverend Allison Miller, no relation, by the way. And remember to cherish each other. And remember to keep cherishing in the way you are in this moment, cherishing the people who long for you but haven't found you yet. Because the world needs you. The world needs what you bring to one another. The world needs the light that you bring to our spirits.
Please stand if you'd like.
beautiful congregation, thank you for your hard work. Thank you for the light you shine, the hope you offer the world. Thank you for your love for one another and the people yet to come. The world needs you. Go in peace, be in peace, and we will be together again.